Welcome to another edition of Behind the Process. I'm back. It's your good brother Talib, and I'm here with Chantel.
What's up?
Miss Media
Maven.
Okay. Where's
Yes.
the name? Where's the name from?
Miss Media. Someone gave it to me at work, honestly.
Really? Is there a meaning behind it?
The meaning behind it is I'm always doing something, whether it's content, reels,
Okay.
and then like my job is in entertainment anyway. Okay. So I'm always working on some side projects. So she just called me a media maven. So I just went ahead and I just took the title.
You just ran with it.
I just ran with it, y'all.
All right. So your current job is in
sports, music, and entertainment.
Entertainment.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So before we get too deep into that, though, we're going to start from the beginning. And we like to show people untraditional ways that people out here making money. You know what I mean? There's more than a warehouse or little jobs like that. All right. So after high school, you're from Jersey. Where do you go to college at?
I went to Rider. Shout out to Rider.
Okay.
Shout out to my alma mater.
All right. And what did you go for?
I went for radio and TV.
Oh, so this was the plan. Okay.
I don't want to say it was the plan, but yes, it was the plan when I got there.
Okay.
I had my mind made up already, and I was going to a trade school. I was going to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting at the same time. And so I had like a couple more months left. So I was doing them both at the same time. So then once I got my certificate for one, then I was able to focus on Rider. Most people may not know that, but that was actually like a good trade. Okay. Same thing, but.
So what was the plan back at that time?
I didn't have a plan.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I did not have a plan. I thought I was going to be a pharmacist.
For real?
Yeah, okay. I really thought I was going to be a pharmacist. And then I went to Burlington County College. And I failed chem. Well, I didn't really fail. I got a D in the class. And I just think that I just wasn't focused. And I did better in the lab. I got a B, and I didn't do as great in the actual class. And so there's two things that occurred. The first thing was my godparents and my mom had an intervention with me because they're like, you got to figure your stuff out. And I'm just like, I don't know. I guess I thought I knew what I was doing. I really didn't because I just knew I wanted to make a lot of money. And my godparents asked me what was I good at. And so I had said, oh, I just got a paper back from my professor because, you know, you have to take your regular courses when you're in any school. And I had got an A on it. And they said, maybe you should consider communications. Okay. And so from there, my godparents like, maybe you should consider the Connecticut School of Broadcasting because I've always been good at writing. I've always been good at English classes. It's like, it's my thing, right? Okay. So I always say like, tap into like what you're good at. And so from there, I went and applied for the school. I didn't even get into Rider yet. And my mom was on my ass because she's just like, what are you doing? And, you know, she's very concerned about the company that I had. You know, when you're young, you just need a focus and a direction. At least I did at the time. And then after that, it was just like go time. So once I went to the trade school, I was like, let me see what Rider's doing. And I really wanted to go to Howard. I wanted to go like to a HBCU. But Rider at the moment was having like open enrollment. Like you could get into the school the day of if you go and do like an interview. And that day I enrolled in classes and I took my ass to a PWI and I did both of them simultaneously until the trade school was done. And I just carried it out. Okay.
Stop what you're doing right now and go to supplement.com. I'm tired of seeing people walk around with these corny water bottles with these whack logos and these whack colors. Or even worse, walking around with a plastic bottle that's bad for the environment and that's making all that noise when you're drinking out of it. Supplement is the only water bottle that's made with the culture in mind. It's leak-proof and made with a built-in coaster. Keeping your drink cold for 24 hours and hot for 12. Go to supplement.com right now and get your water bottle. Supplement, where hydration meets culture. All right, so you're in school. What was their college experience like?
I was focused. I did a really good job. Most people, they get drunk, they may drop out, which I'm not. Chantel. No, I'm not mad at it because it's not for everyone. I don't think sometimes that people may belong in that type of setting. Just like people shouldn't always feel like they have to do a 9 to 5. Some people are more of an entrepreneur maybe than in a corporate setting. But for me, it was more focused. Number one, the school couldn't have parties because someone had passed away when we first got there. So it wasn't like no drinking, no nothing.
Yeah.
I had to take summer classes to catch up because from the community college, they only gave me like 9 credits to transfer over, which is very low.
Yeah.
And so I spent my time that summer and I was taking summer classes just to catch up because I had graduated from high school in 2006. So in my head, I'm like, I'm going to graduate by 2010. So I'm going to take these classes. So it was a good time. I honestly think that I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for me going to Rider.
Okay.
Actually, that's a fact. That's a fact.
All right. So what are the good things that came out of Rider?
Man, the college experience, I think a lot of people, they may or may not like it. I'm not sure. To each his own. I think that's a very subjective answer, right? But I had fun. I was able to live in the dorms. I was an RA. I pledged. So I pledged Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Okay. You know, shout out. And I mean, I wouldn't have gotten my first job if it wasn't for one of my sorority sisters.
Okay.
Not to say I wouldn't have actually not had got a job, but you know, your network is your net worth.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I feel like if it wasn't for that opportunity, like sometimes you don't know why you're at a particular place and why you meet people. Like there's one particular person, if it was not for her, I wouldn't have worked at BET, which was my first job in the industry.
First job, okay.
Yeah, in the industry, yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's backtrack real quick to the sorority. So what made you want to pledge?
Man, the Deltas was hot back then. Like we ran the yard. I feel like we still do. And at that time, I had a boo, and he was a Q, and their chapter was super close with ours. And I think the biggest thing is people tend to, at least to my opinion, people tend to choose who's running the yard. Okay. So, you know, like that's the most programs. Like who stands out the most? Who do you talk to the most? Like you kind of like migrate to the group that you feel like is the best. Yeah. And for me, everybody was interested in pledging Delta at the time. And so yeah, one thing led to another, and I crossed in 2008 for fall 08. So
yeah. Okay. All right. So you graduate. So let's talk about the first opportunity that you just talked about a little bit, the BET.
Yeah, BET was like.
So what were you applying for? What position was this?
Okay, so here's the thing. I just went in just to interview for anything at the time. And it just started because I was walking. First of all, when I got out of Rider, I waited a year. I moved to Maryland, and then I worked in DC for a little bit, and I was working at the mall at Abercrombie and Fitch, believe it or not. And I felt so discouraged because when you get out of school, the biggest thing you ask is like, what am I gonna do? Like what you get panicked. Yeah. I still talk to people that are still in school and they do the same thing. And I'm like, okay, it's gonna be all right. Like, trust me, you're gonna land something. It'll be fine. And I was walking to this other side of the mall I never liked to go over to. And one thing led to another. I saw one of my older sorority sisters there. And I was like, yeah, you know, I just moved here. I was like, I didn't tell you, you know, I was just keeping it low. But I haven't found a job in my field because, you know, we was asking each other like how things are going. And she's like, well, you know, her fiance, which is her husband now, he works at BT. So I sent her my resume. She looked over it, and he was the one who got me my first job. But the thing is, when I went for the interview, I did not get the job right on the spot. Okay. So because at the time we were having like cuts. So every like October, you know, there's kind of like a thing within corporate, or at least corporate America in the entertainment world, where people tend to get laid off, or there might be budget cuts. So the manager at the time, or director, she didn't really want to bring me on, not because I was not qualified, because I had my whole portfolio. It was just because she didn't want me to start and then have to stop. Okay, yeah. 6 months later, this girl leaves, and she was a video editor. So she worked on like 106 in Park. Yeah. She did stuff for video on demand. So like that meant she would work on legal stuff, like if something needs to be cut out because it can't air due to legal reasons. She left to move to New York to work on 106 in Park. So I took her spot.
Okay.
But that's 6 months later.
Yeah. Oh, the process.
Process. It's a process. So you can't lose hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I forgot how to edit because, to be honest, when I was in trade school, we had to do that, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was just over it, and it took like he's like a mentor of mine, but my very first boss, he like I don't know, it was Jesus for real. I caught one like this, and like I just took off.
Yeah.
And so I had did that for like a little while.
All right. Well, there's a key right there. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
being transparent with your friend and telling her what your situation was instead of trying to act like you was doing all popping out there.
What, the video editing stuff?
No, with your friend. I mean, when she asked you how things are going,
yeah,
it ain't going too well, right?
It wasn't that
she plugged you in though.
I mean, it's not that you're not doing too well. It's just that I wasn't in the space that I wanted to be in, and so it was just like, you know, when somebody's asking you, how are you doing? And these are just things that I felt comfortable to share with her.
Yeah.
And it was, honestly, I think it was a blessing, because if it wasn't for her, I think that I wouldn't have went that route first. Yeah. I probably would have did something else. So, I mean, and then once I got to BET, I just like took off.
All right. So what was the position again that you applied for at BET?
I didn't apply for any position.
Oh, so you just
I didn't apply for anything. I literally just went in there off the fact that because my sorority sister's husband was a manager there.
Oh, so they just put you somewhere.
They put me somewhere. Oh, yeah, and someone was leaving, so I was able to take their spot. Oh, and he looked me out, and then he wasn't even my boss afterwards. Which was the funny part. It was almost like I was handed over to someone else, but this someone else was somebody who became like my biggest mentor. Okay. Like my producing and writing, learning how to be on the ground, on the field. Like if it's like the BT Awards, like he really opened up like a lot of doors for me. Okay.
All right, so talk on you. Speak more about your first job. So what's the first job like?
The first job.
So where are you at BT?
Where location? DC.
DC. Oh, so
DC? The very first like place in DC. Okay. I was there, so I stayed there until it closed. Which it was so much fun because it was like going to a HBCU that I had never got to go to. Remember, I told you I wanted to go to Howard. Yeah. I didn't get to have that experience because I had to go to Rider, but I still had my opportunity to be around our people. Yeah. And there's no slight about working in other places, but it was just like it was different. Like you go on the campus, like a campus. Well, back then it was, because it's non-existent now. And I would just say hi to everybody. It was almost like my social skills actually was being developed too. Yeah. Learning how to like make relationships with people just by saying hello can change a lot. I even like found out that I had a cousin that I didn't even know about who worked at BET.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, like so crazy. Then I had a cousin that was on one of the BET shows. I didn't know we were related.
You was at the cookout, sounds like.
I mean, it was a good time. I feel like that particular network was like a really good opportunity just to have an opportunity. Yeah. Like if you're looking to be creative, if you're looking to not have someone like hold your hand but be open to your ideas, that was a great space. And to work around people that are just like yourself, it's like it was great.
So what are some of the projects you worked on at BT?
All the awards, hip hop awards, BT awards. Oh gosh, Soul Train awards. Sometimes it's like miscellaneous things, like 106 in Park, Being Mary Jane.
Being Mary Jane.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of like other things. And some of these things are old.
Video editing.
Yeah.
At all these places? Okay.
Yeah. The Monique show was still like that's so outdated, right? Yeah. But the Monique show, I would have to like cut it up and make. So what would happen is on BT.com, we would extract clips and we would put it on BT.com. Okay. And then every time there was an episode that aired for, like, let's just say a TV show, then we would basically make like a mini trailer and put it on BT.com just to get people to go watch the full episode. Okay. So it's almost like, how you see on like Power, it says what happened the last time on Power, just to speed you up on what's about to happen next. That's basically what I was doing, but just on a smaller scale to go on the internet.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you won the red carpet a couple times.
I did. I got that opportunity too. That was fun.
What was that like?
It was nerve-wracking. They like was working on me, was making me feel like I wasn't qualified. I wasn't equipped. I'm like, don't do that. But it was fun. It was exciting. Yeah, I had some good times on the red carpet. It's kind of cool to see people like walking down the carpet, and you'll ask people that are on the carpet like who's coming up next and different things. So you're like kind of gonna grab whoever that you can get at the moment. But it's awesome to just be able to even be in the atmosphere. It's not something that you can just always do if you're not afforded the opportunity. But if you have it, take it.
All right. So how long are you at BET for?
6 years.
6 years. All right. So what was the transition out? What was the transition out? Like, why did you?
Because they were closing the office.
Okay.
And there were it was, you know what? In entertainment, there's so much transition. If you do not like to handle change, then it's not the space for you. Yeah. You have to even you have to be uncomfortable sometimes to be comfortable. And sometimes being uncomfortable, actually a lot of times it allows you to grow. And that's not just like when it comes to the entertainment. I think that's just any job. I think that's just life. But it goes down. Like, I have survived like a lot of layoffs, And I remember BT was closing its DC office. I had a new boss. They just laid off 50, 60 people, and I survived all of it. Then I was in like another new team. Then I was in a new team. I had a boss in New York. I lived in DC. There was 5 of us. It came down to 2 of us. Somebody had to go to New York and do the function that I was doing. I wasn't doing video editing at the time. I was doing video on demand. So like I was basically programming content to go on to video on demand. So that meant that if you watch that, if you have Spectrum, Comcast, Verizon, whatever you have, I don't want to say Philo, but any of these multi-channels or multi-providers, then that means that somebody has to schedule the content for someone to watch it. Okay. So somebody's watching in Canada or somebody's watching on the islands, like we're the ones who are actually putting in the metadata.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So tips for surviving the the layoff.
Man, your connects are everything. Oh man, your network is your net worth. Your net worth is your net worth, 100%. Also, like some people are more afforded than others, right? I really think it's just all God's plan, right? So I'm gonna say I have been able to survive because of God's plan, right? So at the end of the day, even if you do get laid off for whatever reason, there's something or a reason why it happens. It's either to probably put you somewhere different. It's probably to allow you to work in a different space. Maybe it's to take you out your comfort zone. It's not always a bad thing. It's actually sometimes it's refreshing. It's to get you away from maybe what your day-to-day is of whatever that you're doing. Like people tend to look at that like, damn, like why would they lay me off? You know, or why would they do this? Why would they do that? And sometimes it's like for your own blessing. I've seen people get laid off and get something that's like 10 times better. Like there's life after the job that you're currently in. So always embrace the changes. You have to be uncomfortable to be comfortable.
Okay. You're running with that line.
I love that. Like I love that line because it's so true. Because people like to be comfortable sometimes. And that's with anything. The more you're comfortable, you're content in it, and that's okay. If you just like what you're doing, like that's completely fine. But I feel like if there's a change that is uncontrollable, just go with the process. Like no matter how hard it may seem, it's just worth, instead of fighting against it, to just go with it, because you really don't know what's ahead of you. You know, we tend to like look back at things and be like, why? We question all these things instead of like looking at the positive. Like if you focus on the positive, then you get the positive.
Right. All right. So Chantel gets laid off today. What's she doing? What's the first move?
The first move? Oh, I'm taking a break. Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Taking a break.
Somebody else out there that gets laid off. What's
take that check and get paid to do absolutely nothing.
Oh, so they usually cut you a check when they lay you off like that.
It depends on like how long you've been. I mean, it's each his own, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody's been a freelancer, they may get like only 2 weeks to pay. Okay. If somebody's been an employee for like 10, 15, 20 years, they can get severance pay. I mean, it really just depends on your company. Okay. But I will say, if it was me, I would be collecting my money. I would be collecting my check, and I would literally just take a break because you work a lot. Yeah. Like it's nonstop. Sometimes you have chill days. Sometimes it's chaotic. Hella emails. Yeah. Like I'm always dealing with a lot of people. And so for me, I just love a break. It took me like almost a year to get a 2-week break last year. Dang. So I would say embrace it. Do things you would never do. Like there's been people who've had that happen. I'm like, yo, if you have an opportunity to think about what it is you want to do, like kind of like it's like an opportunity almost. You get to pick what lane you want to be in. Maybe you're in a job because it's just what you could do at the moment. Maybe it's setting you up for something that you've been saying that you want to do. Journaling, like also, I mean, you don't want to hear that when that first happens. You know what I mean? Like it's probably like it hits really hard. But when it's all over and you kind of just breathe, you're allowed to have that natural moment. But when you can breathe, you're like, damn, I'm so glad I left. I'm like happy to be in a new space. So it's better that they do it than you do it because you get that check. Yeah, big facts. I was just talking to someone on Monday. Somebody was like, they got furloughed during the pandemic. They said that was the best time of their life because they was getting unemployment. I mean, yeah, you collecting checks and you on unemployment, you living the best life. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what's the next move after BET? The next move, I went to MTV. I moved from DC. It took me a while. I moved to New York. And I was there for like 8 months, and then I left. You had MTV for 8 months? Huh? You had MTV for 8 months and you left? No. So I was in DC for BET. Okay. It was out of 2 people to go to New York. Okay. They picked me. Now, I told you like way before, like 60 people got laid off. Yeah. So I had a whole new boss. And she just took to me. So I just told you about the relationships. Y'all know my famous. This is Nicki Minaj. Your net worth is your net worth, right? But she like my boss at the time or my new VP. She just fucked with me, and she like allowed me to move up to New York. It was a little. I ain't gonna lie. The process a little ratchet. It was not the smoothest process, but it was a way for me to move, and I needed to move because it's like a bigger market. Yeah, I got there. I was out of there in like 8 months. So you didn't want to be there anymore? No, it wasn't that. It was just that I was a permanent contractor, and I wanted to have benefits. And I will never forget. I went to this event for BT, and my boss was sitting next to me, and next to my boss was a HR lady that worked for, at the time it was ViaCom. And the HR lady told my boss at the time that they were hiring in the company, like for full-time positions, and we're freelancers. Yeah. And then my boss, child, she gonna tell me. So you know what I did? When my boss went to the bathroom, I'm like, hi, my name's Chantel. I just went for it. Yeah. And she gave me her email. I sent her my email. She told me to send my resume, and she sent me the MTV job. So I got the MTV job. I literally just went from one office to the other. It was just right across the street. Yeah. Okay. So what was that experience like? What you doing over there? It was a very big transition because I went from going to an HBCU back to a PWI. If you kind of catch my drift. It took a minute for me to adjust. It was like a culture shock. I'm not gonna lie. Not that I have never worked with other races or other people. It just was like just not the same feeling. Like I've worked in sports since I worked at BET too, and it's very manly, man dominated. Like there's a lot of men that dominate that space. There's not a lot of women, so I have to be better or just as good or better because number one, I'm Black.
Yeah.
Number two, because I'm a female.
Mm.
Then you got it when you get to like a place like MTV. There's a lot of females.
Okay.
It's not that many Black women.
Yeah.
So that was a little challenging at first to kind of navigate it because the way I would talk to somebody at BC, I had to change my whole demeanor of how I would approach something to someone else. That trust me, it was like a moment with someone else that I'm like, I think it was okay, and it wasn't.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that place taught me endurance. Because at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was ready to jump ship. I'm like, did I make the right decision?
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. I'm like, I don't know if I don't really know if I like it here. And I ended up staying. I was about to literally leave. I ended up being there for 5 years.
Okay.
So it took endurance. It taught me how to talk in front of large crowds.
Yeah.
It taught me how to manage my projects. It taught me how to deal with a whole bunch of people, how to get like 100 plus people to agree on the same thing for a project that's going out before the world knows about it. It definitely put me in a better position than I was from before. So like when we're in those spaces where we feel like I don't really like it here, I just want to quit. I want to leave like because it gets hard. Really shouldn't think that way because if you can't get past like level 2, how do you expect to get to level 3? But you're not gonna get to another level if you can't beat the one from before. And you always think the grass can be greener on the other side, and it can very well be, but every place has its challenges, right? So it's like challenge yourself to tackle what you can handle. And sometimes you gotta look at yourself too. Like maybe it's something you're doing. Maybe it's not always something that someone else is doing. And it definitely taught me how to adjust how I say things too. You know, it may be okay for one person, it's not okay for other people. And you know what? I feel like that place taught me a lot of corporate etiquette on just how to maybe go about things in a different way so that people feel comfortable, like in general.
How to read the room.
Oh yeah. Like like how to read a tough room. Like they're tough. It's not always like roses all the time. You literally gotta have a little thick skin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what projects were you working on at MTV?
A whole lot. I worked on MTV and VH1.
Okay.
So I worked on Love and Hip Hop. Oh gosh, Couples Retreat 2, Black Ink, LA, New York. What else is on VH1? Oh my gosh, so much stuff. All the Love and Hip Hops. Oh my gosh, Double Shot of Love, which was like a part of like a Jersey Shore spinoff.
Okay.
Jersey Shore.
Are you doing the same thing for them, or you
same thing? Okay. Teen Mom, VMAs. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on.
So ideally, what would somebody in school right now be going for if they wanted that kind of job? Like, what major would they be picking?
Like communications. Marketing, because technically, if you think about it, I went from doing video editing and producing to being it's called multi-platform scheduler. So pretty much I worked in TV programming.
Okay.
And then I moved over to marketing. So I kind of been everywhere. So I would just say maybe like anywhere in communications broadly, and maybe do a minor. Like I had a minor in PR. Never did it. I did not like PR, or maybe the lady I worked for back in the day. But it definitely, any skill you do helps you, right? So I always tell people whatever opportunity you can get at the moment, unless you know someone, that's always a plus.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd take it because it's all connects.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So MTV goes, where do you go from there?
Well, we're gonna stop there because we're gonna put a question mark because I don't know at the moment.
All right. So what are you presently working on, or what are you doing right now?
Right now, I'm still doing project management.
Okay.
And then that because I was doing project management within MTV, so anything and everything that was going on, whether it's editorially, social, programming with ratings, consumer marketing, like billboards, like everything was funneling through me. So I had to make sure everybody was in sync before we go out into the world with something. That's a task.
Yeah.
And then on the side, I've always done stuff in sports. So I gotta keep me a side hustle because I'm not a Jamaican, but I will work like nobody's smart because I like money. I like clothes. I like bags.
So what do you really know about sports, Chantel? I mean, let's not lie to the people here.
I don't lie to the people. I actually like hockey.
Oh,
I work in hockey.
Of course, you picked a sport that I can't question.
Yeah, you cannot question me on that one. I have worked in basketball. I worked with the Wizards. So I worked in the production room. I was doing that in DC too.
Okay.
So it was basically a line producer for Chiron Graphics. So anything that was happening on the Jumbotron, I had to make sure that everything was spelled correctly. That's a task.
So you're doing that in real time?
Somebody else is doing it in real time. I'm double checking them. It's very easy for someone to be in the hot seat. And granted, there were some great people that did it. But it's always good to have a fact checker. And if like for instance, if we're following a game, because remember, it's a show, it's an event presentation. You guys don't really probably notice this stuff that's happening. But when you're watching the Jumbotron, when you see like the replays, I've done that. Or if you see the points, like how many points, assists, rebounds, I would be looking at the board to make sure we put it up on the board so everybody can see it.
So what is that position called? The person that's working on Jumbotron?
Well, for me, it was a Chiron producer.
Say again?
It's called a Chiron producer, or a line producer.
Okay.
So I was basically line producing.
Okay.
So somebody if you think about a producer, like a producer's making sure that everything is going smooth, right? Just like if I was producing your show, I would be like, Troy, maybe you should ask this, or that. Or maybe I would be trying to tell you in your ear set, don't forget to ask something. You know what I mean? Kind of monitoring something to make sure that the collaboration of the entire project comes together.
I never even knew that was an actual. I would think that somebody doing that is just like adding the points, just pushing the button. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's what we did for us. I haven't been to a Sixers game in a minute, so I don't know. And I probably was into the game. So I feel like sometimes people don't really pay attention to the small stuff. You gotta really be into it. But if you're working in TV, I feel like, or sports or whatever productions, you notice every little thing. Like on the Jumbotron in the Garden, they actually have on the screen, like I don't know what technology this is. It shows where the ball is going. So there's cameras in the arena that actually show like what's happening with the puck.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because you're not gonna see it if you all the way in like the third, like the third section, or you all the way up high in the 400.
Yeah. You
can't see anything, so you need the Jumbotron to help. Like you want to be a part of the game and part of the activities, but for fortunate purposes, you want to make sure that everybody can kind of follow.
So what is your dream job or position? What do you want to? I mean, if you had it your way, what would you be doing?
I'm gonna be real. I'm one of those people where my job's always found me. I never, ever since I was younger, I told you I wanted to be a pharmacist. Okay, well, you see where that got me. Like the chem class sucked, right? But it took for a teacher to tell me, like, this is something that you may want to consider. So I actually did it. It's almost like things find me. So for some people, they're really blessed to kind of be like, I'm going to be a doctor. I know I want to do this, right? And then I think there's just people who just like sometimes they don't know. Sometimes I'd be like, yo, I don't know. Like I've done so much stuff. Like it's whatever I could probably either find or whatever just may pique my interest at the moment. So I always for me, I go with the flow. It'll be like, all right, well, every job I've had has literally found me. Like my gift of like just going into communications found me. Right? Because it took a teacher to say something that was encouraging for me to actually say, you know what, I'm gonna consider doing something that I'm good at. Right? I didn't even realize that. Somebody pointed it out to me. It took for my sorority sister to get me into BT. Like it's almost like the job found me. You know what I mean? MTV. I'm sitting right next. If my supervisor did not tell me that, I would have probably left. She didn't even know how much she helped me leave, unfortunately. But like that job it landed right on my lap. So I'm pretty sure whatever's next is it's gonna be a mutual, like we're gonna find each other. Just like the Garden. It's so funny. When I was traveling back and forth from DC to New York, because I had a period where I was low key working from home before there was a real working from home, because my boss lived in New York and I lived in DC. So she just let me for a year just lay low until I could find a place up North Jersey or in New York. Okay. And so I met a girl at one of the hotels I was working with. My cousin was working in the travel department. She worked in ViaCom, so like she booked like travel for like all executives. And so every hotel I would go to, I would be lit because my cousin that I found out through BET, she had all these relationships with hotels. And so there's a girl that worked at this particular hotel at the Intercontinental Hotel because it's right close to the job. And she told me about her sister that worked in the Garden. And so when I applied for the position, her sister was the one who interviewed me. So I hit her other sister, like the main sister, the first sister I met. I'm like, yo, your sister's interviewing me tomorrow. She's like, let me text her. And then I had got the job at the Garden. So I feel like, I don't know. That's why I just be saying it's God's plan. I'm just a passenger in the seat. Yeah. So that's a good way to look at it. To be determined. Yeah. But like I said, I think there's just different types of people, right? Some people are super blessed. Like they just, it's not that if I don't know a plan, I won't execute it. But some people just know I'm going to do this particular thing and it just comes to them like this. Yeah. And for me, it takes a while, but it's like well worth it. And I have to learn patience. Yeah, I like that. Patience is key. So patience is always key because if you don't have patience, you fuck it up. Mm-hmm.
All right. So anybody out there that's in the media space and communication, they're trying to get into the media space, I should say, right? Yeah. Give us some quick tips to land a job and to navigate this whole thing. You could talk to like a young Chantel.
A young Chantel? Oh, well, continue to be fearless. Like, be brave. Like, don't be afraid to say hello to somebody. Don't be afraid. If you know someone, then you just want an internship, go for it. And don't be scared to don't have fear on whether or not you can do it or you can't do it. The worst someone can tell you is no. Right. Right. So I would say be fearless. Definitely learn how to communicate. And it may take some trial and error, but
give some keys real quick that you learn in communication when talking to people.
Okay. I was working in the store. I think I was, this is like my off time when I got out of college. I was working at the Loft for Ann Taylor. This lady comes in. She needs clothes because she's going to be at NBC. She comes up to the register. She says she's doing something for the segment. I'm like, do you need an intern? She's like, yeah. So I got to go with her to NBC in Philly. Sometimes you can be real too. I guess you got to read the room. Yeah. Take advantage on when you meet people and what they do. Get their contact, follow them on Instagram, follow up. Kind of don't be disappearing out of nowhere, and then stay consistent with your contacts too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Send a text, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hey, how you doing? I just wanted to check in. If someone's fortunate enough to bring you on board to show you what they do, I say learn as much as you possibly can. Right. And don't look at what everyone else is doing. Don't do that because everyone is having their own journey, right? So the goal is to be on your own pace. Don't look on either side. Don't be stalking nobody's page. They're doing this, I should be here. Your journey is for you. And you just stay fearless and just learn as much as you can. Soak it up. And don't be afraid to apply for your internships. Don't be afraid to apply to your jobs. I mean, I am doing consultations, so you can find me on my page if you definitely would like to kind of have some of those one-on-one talks on how you can kind of build yourself up. I definitely do consultations on those type of things.
Give me information though.
So you can find me on you can find me on Instagram on @MissMediaMaven, or you can do my name. It might be easier to find at Chantel Utley. So at ChantelUtley. So I'm definitely open, and you can find my websites and links and all that other stuff right on my page. Okay. So I'm here to help wherever I can.
All right. Well, Miss Media Maven, we appreciate your time on here.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to leave the people with?
Man, I would just say your journey is for you. You know, it's all in God's plan. Trust God's plan always. Never trust your own plan all the time. Go with what God has for you.
All right.
Yeah.
Behind the process, we'll see y'all next time.